Hello, welcome to Opinions Plus. I appreciate your viewers viewing and taking the time out of your day to review some of these thoughts. My last clip on immigration did quite poorly. Um, I'm not exactly sure I understand why, because it is such a important subject um, to so many people, and it's caused such angst throughout the national community and along the southern border, and that, just a general interest um, might be piqued. But on this clip, I do have to address the question that is constantly in my mind as to why people are so attracted, dedicated to a man, a crass, whining man like Donald Trump. I don't understand it. He has no character. He just, I guess today or recently, uh, in some kind of a speech in New Hampshire, talked about the district attorney down south in Georgia, um, who was, and apparently without any information or any solid factual basis, said that she was sleeping with some kind of gang member or had slept with them just to be vicious. Just vicious. When Miss Pelosi called him a scare puppy, uh, he told her, go to hell, in his social media. What is the appeal of a person like that to anybody? What is the appeal? Now, I don't understand the policy thing at all, because from my perspective, what he did during 4 years was pathetic. As Chris Christie said, he hasn't, he said he's going to build a wall and Mexico paid for it, didn't do it. And, same old shtick, saying a bunch of junk and just letting it slide. And, the adoring people believe it for whatever reason. Why? I don't know. I cannot figure it. And when I do try to find out some psychological aspects of this, very difficult. People really don't have a clue. But it is a psychosis, in my estimation, because a man like that is just of base character, who has money and influence and uses it, you know, in an angry, petty way many times. He's indicted for crimes because he committed crimes. That's what he's accused of. And that's why he's indicted. So what are the other side? And I've talked about partisanship before. This should not be about partisanship. It doesn't matter that he's a Republican and there's a Democrat. It's the win-win-win. I want to get the abortion rights. I want to get the judges. I want to. And that seems to be all it is. I'll take that, man, because he's going to get me something. Or does he mirror what you are? Those who agree with him see him as some kind of savior, which they do. Does that mirror their soul, that person? And I've said it before in some clips, the church leaders have not said a bloody word except in, promoting the anti-democratic, pedophile, sucking, drinking children's blood and all this other stuff. I mean, it is absurd to the nth degree, and yet it is a QAnon, whatever, nonsense that is. People believe in this stuff. Why? Because it's on, the screen, I guess. And they just want to believe it. But why him? He's not intelligent. He has shown his lack of intelligence many times. He is not a critical thinker. He's, like I said, he's a petty man. He goes after, a DA and, says all kinds of nasty things just because he can. That's not a person of character or integrity. I don't care what his policy is, if he had any, which I've never really seen it, and his tax business is a joke. My gosh, he raised the deficit $7 or $6 trillion because of these tax goofball things, and the Republican leadership doesn't do a damn thing, hasn't said anything ever. They're run scared. They're as pathetic as he is in many ways. I said this thing about Romney. And Romney, to me, is the essence of a person who can take a moral stand, leadership role, but he doesn't. His religious background, his philosophy, his ability to be, above the fray. For what? What is he doing with that? He was the presidential candidate for the Republican Party, leading the Republican Party at one time, and yet he still doesn't talk. He doesn't get on those pulpits and say what needs to be said. What you do hear is lawyers from, Republicans and Miss, Bob or whatever her name is, saying things just off the top of her head, apparently. He's the finest man she's ever known. Well, I don't know what kind of people she's, you know, associated has associated with. But you know, if he is the finest man that she's known, sorry for her. I am. We've got to stop this stuff. He's crass. He's weak. He's sick. I don't know what the heck is going on with this guy, but he doesn't have an ability to talk in any reasonable intellectual way. He doesn't discuss issues. He points fingers. He's very good at that. He's a con man. For God's sakes, that's what he does. People don't seem to understand that, but that's what he is. They're paying all these millions and dollars for his legal things. Why? Because the deep state's after him. Now that guy, that Miller clown, saying that Nixon, Watergate was a result of the deep state way back then. There's no bounds. But I ask you to use your common sense and your abilities to see that there are bounds, that there needs to be bounds, that you just don't listen to a man like that and accept what he says and accept the people that he pays to be his mouthpieces to say the things that they want. For whatever reason they do it, whether it's legal mumbo jumbo or not. I don't know enough about the law, but I do know that there are people that use it poorly to cover themselves. And, it comes up, it's a sorrow. It's been throughout the centuries, of course. people of power win. Why? Because they have power. Gosh, I mean, it's like, so simple an equation. And yet, they talk about these two-tiered justice system. Even that Tim Scott guy, you know, my goodness. And now Mitch McConnell was booed in Kentucky. Couldn't even say a word. You know, the whole Republican Party doesn't even have a platform. Doesn't even have a platform. Doesn't stand for anything. But why him? Why Trump? You have better candidates out there. People of some character that aren't impeached and indicted and all these other things, who are not vicious, whining children, who get away with saying disgusting things about others. Why? Because they're allowed to. The major media doesn't hold them accountable. Why? They spin it off as political discourse. It isn't political. It's just crass, disgusting verbiage. And it should be called out like that. A few people do, and it's getting more. But this guy has been doing this for years. Doesn't matter, does it? Yes, it does matter. Your past actions do matter. But why believe in a man like that when there are other people around who have some character, who at least show some character and some common decency? Is this the way you want to raise your children? To look and sound like a Donald J. Trump? I don't agree with Pence. I don't agree with some of the things Biden's doing. I'm more inclined to a Democratic point of view than I am to a Republican point of view, especially when Ted Cruz and his cronies closed the government back in, 2008, and lost $50,000 in the IRA. Why? Because of his own little petty stuff? Well, I don't have that kind of money. And they don't give a damn about that. They don't care. You don't close the government down and impact the stock markets and impact all the other issues and maneuver people around. No, you don't do that. You try to do what you can to elevate, to create a better environment. And you need to do that. But this man, this Trump guy, doesn't do that at all. He's just a whiner and a complainer, and everything is somebody else's fault. And come on, there cannot, one crime leads to another. I was in law enforcement. I saw it many times. It cascades through. That's what they do. You think, a criminal commits crimes. That's what he does 24/7. He's a criminal. That's what they do. That's how they make their living. And some are individuals that, can be wonderful people to their families and others. But they break the law. Anyway, I haven't heard anything that could define why such an attraction to a man like Trump. I just don't understand it. I don't see it. I don't understand it. Nor do I really. I have had discussions about, different elements about policy, but it isn't policy at all. It's character. It's integrity. He doesn't love country. He wraps his hands around that flag. He doesn't. He's a draft dodging clown. You think he wanted to go to Vietnam? Come on. Come on, people. Wake up. And there are many others who skipped out on serving their country. But he's a clown. Especially after when I heard this thing about what he said about Fonnie Willis, without any evidence, just to say it. Just to say it. And I don't care about this racist stuff. I mean, it's just crass. Crass, you know. He frames things in different ways. He's good at it. He's top of the line at it. But anyway, I don't think I'll ever find an answer. No, I don't think anybody else will. But he's not a man of character. He just is not. Find people of character, of decency, of honor, who don't speak down to people, about people. Thanks for listening. If you appreciated some of these thoughts and ideas, please subscribe and pass it on, or whatever you feel inclined to do. Thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. Have a good day.